Welcome, dear listeners, to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a journey through the annals of time, unraveling the complexities of human experience and the tapestry of our collective past. Today, we find ourselves standing at the threshold of one of the most pivotal battles in the Great War, a conflict that would come to be known as the Battle of Passchendaele. This clash of armies, set against the backdrop of a war-torn Europe, was a culmination of strategic calculations, logistical challenges, and human factors that ultimately shaped the course of history. As we delve into the earliest history of the Battle of Passchendaele, we find ourselves in the summer of 1917, amidst the rolling hills and verdant fields of Flanders, where the Belgian city of Ypres stands as a testament to the region's rich history. The battle-scarred landscape, pockmarked with craters and trenches, bore witness to the brutal fighting that had ravaged the area since 1914. The once quaint town, with its medieval architecture and picturesque canals, had been transformed into a battleground, where soldiers from across the globe clashed in a maelstrom of mud, blood, and steel. The seeds of Passchendaele were sown in the aftermath of the Battle of the Somme, which had left the British Army reeling from devastating losses. The Allied forces, determined to break through the German defenses, began to formulate a new strategy, one that would involve a series of coordinated attacks, clever tactics, and innovative technologies. Key figures, such as General Douglas Haig, General Herbert Plumer, and Lieutenant General Hubert Goff, played crucial roles in shaping the battle plan, drawing on their experiences in previous campaigns to inform their decisions. The Germans, meanwhile, were busy fortifying their defenses, constructing elaborate networks of trenches, bunkers, and barbed wire entanglements. The infamous Hindenburg Line, a formidable barrier of steel and concrete, stretched across the landscape like a serpent, its presence a constant reminder of the enemy's resolve to hold their ground. As the British forces prepared for the impending battle, they faced numerous challenges, from the treacherous terrain to the unpredictable weather, which often turned the battlefield into a quagmire of mud and chaos. The spring of 1917 saw a flurry of activity as British forces deployed troops, positioned artillery, and stockpiled supplies in anticipation of the coming fight. The air was thick with tension as soldiers, officers, and civilians alike waited with bated breath for the battle to commence. The sound of gunfire and explosions echoed through the valleys, a constant reminder of the war's proximity. As the days turned into weeks, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense, like a coiled spring, waiting to be unleashed. And so, as we conclude this examination of the earliest history of the Battle of Passchendaele, we find ourselves poised on the brink of the battle's most critical phase. The stage is set for a drama that will unfold with devastating consequences, testing the mettle of armies and the resolve of nations. Let us proceed, dear listeners, into the heart of this maelstrom, where heroism and horror entwine, and the very fabric of history is forever altered. Our journey next takes us into the midst of the battle itself, where the bravery of soldiers, the genius of generals, and the fury of war will converge in a spectacle that will leave an indelible mark on the annals of human conflict. Listeners, as we delve into the heart of the Battle of Passchendaele, we find ourselves immersed in a maelstrom of mud, blood, and steel. The summer of 1917 had set the stage for this pivotal conflict, with the British Army, led by General Douglas Haig, poised to launch a series of coordinated attacks against the heavily fortified German defenses. The battle commenced on July 31, 1917, with a massive artillery bombardment that shook the very foundations of the earth. The British guns, arrayed along the Ypres salient, unleashed a hail of shells upon the German lines, seeking to shatter their defenses and create a breach through which the infantry could pour. However, the Germans had anticipated this move, and their fortifications, including the infamous Hindenburg Line, proved resilient in the face of the onslaught. As the British troops advanced, they encountered a landscape transformed by the relentless bombardment into a nightmarish expanse of craters, mud, and barbed wire. The soldiers struggled to make headway, weighed down by the oppressive conditions and the sheer scale of the German defenses. Despite these challenges, the British forces made incremental gains, slowly but surely pushing forward through the morass. One notable example of the bravery and ingenuity displayed during this period was the actions of the Canadian Corps, who played a crucial role in the battle. On August 15, 1917, the Canadians launched a daring assault on the village of Hill 70, utilizing innovative tactics such as the creeping barrage to overwhelm the German defenders. This bold maneuver not only secured a vital strategic objective, but also demonstrated the evolving nature of modern warfare. As the battle raged on, the conditions on the ground grew increasingly dire. The rain-soaked terrain had become a quagmire, making every step a perilous journey through the mud. The stench of death and decay hung heavy in the air, as the bodies of the fallen lay strewn about, unburied and unmourned. Yet, amidst this chaos, acts of heroism and selflessness abounded, as soldiers from both sides risked their lives to rescue the wounded and comfort the dying. The words of General Haig, spoken during this period, capture the essence of the battle. The nation must be taught to bear losses, and to trust in the bravery and endurance of our soldiers. These sentiments encapsulate the stoic resolve that characterized the British Army's approach to the conflict, even as the human cost continued to mount. As we near the end of this segment, we find ourselves at a critical juncture in the battle. The British forces have made significant gains, but at tremendous cost. The Germans, though battered and bruised, remain resolute in their determination to hold their ground. The stage is set for a final decisive confrontation that will determine the outcome of the Battle of Passchendaele. And so, dear listeners, we shall proceed into the final act of this drama, where the consequences of the battle will be revealed, and the lasting legacy of Passchendaele will be forever etched into the annals of history. Our journey next takes us into the aftermath of the battle, where the survivors will grapple with the trauma of their experiences, and the world will begin to come to terms with the devastating consequences. Welcome back to our examination of the Battle of Passchendaele, as we now delve into the aftermath of this pivotal conflict. The battle finally came to an end on November 10, 1917, with the capture of the village of Passchendaele by Canadian forces. However, the true cost of this victory would only become apparent in the days and weeks that followed. As the survivors emerged from the mud-soaked trenches, they were met with a scene of utter devastation. The landscape had been transformed into a barren wasteland, devoid of any signs of life. The once green fields and forests were now nothing more than a sea of craters, pockmarked with the remnants of shells and shattered trees. The air was thick with the stench of death and decay, as the bodies of the fallen lay strewn about, unburied and unmourned. The human cost of the battle was staggering. Estimates suggest that over 400,000 Allied soldiers were killed or wounded during the fighting, with the Germans suffering similar losses. The trauma inflicted upon those who survived would be felt for years to come, as they struggled to come to terms with the horrors they had witnessed. In the immediate aftermath of the battle, the focus turned to burying the dead and tending to the wounded. The conditions in the field hospitals were dire, with medical staff overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the casualties. Many soldiers died from their wounds, while others were left to suffer from the effects of gas poisoning, shell shock, and other afflictions. As the news of the battle's outcome reached the home front, the public began to grapple with the true cost of the war. The British government faced mounting criticism for its handling of the conflict, with many questioning the strategic decisions that had led to such heavy losses. The phrase Passchendaele became synonymous with the futility and horrors of modern warfare. In the years that followed, the battle would be remembered as a turning point in the war. The failure to achieve a decisive victory had highlighted the limitations of traditional military tactics and paved the way for the development of new strategies and technologies. The bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers who fought at Passchendaele would never be forgotten. But the true legacy of the battle lay in its impact on the course of the war. As we reflect on the aftermath of Passchendaele, we are reminded of the words of Wilfred Owen, a British poet who served on the Western Front. What passing bells for these who die as cattle? His poignant question captures the senseless slaughter that characterized the battle and serves as a powerful reminder of the devastating consequences of war. And so, dear listeners, our journey through the Battle of Passchendaele comes to an end. We have explored the events leading up to the conflict, the brutal fighting itself, and the aftermath of this pivotal moment in history. As we conclude, we are left with a profound sense of respect for those who fought and died at Passchendaele, and a deeper understanding of the complexities and horrors of modern warfare. Join us next time as we explore more stories from the annals of history. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.